I am a huge fan of smart rings. I've been wearing an Oura ring or an Ultra Human ring for almost 2 years now, but Samsung's new Galaxy ring is different. It's not just another health tracking ring. They added their own twist and, in my opinion, made it significantly smarter. For example, you can double pinch to snap a photo. Now, there's a lot of stuff like that I'm going to get into in this video, but Samsung actually teased this several months ago back in January, and we knew they were making a ring. We didn't know much about it, we knew what it was going to look like, and you could kind of assume based on the other rings on the market what it would do. But now that it's actually here, we know a lot more about it. For one, we know it's titanium on the outside, has kind of a concave exterior that maybe will resist scratches, maybe, well, we'll talk about that in a second. It also has a battery case, which I would say is a massive improvement that other rings just don't have. Being able to travel and put the ring back in there, one, so you don't lose it, and two, to get 1.5 extra recharges out of a little case just makes so much sense to me. The sensors inside this, of course, if you turn to the side, you can kind of see them. They're just red and green LEDs that are used to track your heart rate, your temperature, your blood oxygen, and all the basic biometrics you would expect for tracking your health, your sleep, and stuff like that. In addition, we now know the ring should be giving you about 7 days of battery life. It is dependent on what ring size you get, and all of the rings, you're looking at about 2.5 millimeters by about 7 millimeters in size, and they weigh about 3 grams or less. So really, I think the value proposition here is that it's smaller, it's lighter, has a longer battery life than a Galaxy Watch, which would make it either ideal as a second device to wear, or just something to wear while you're sleeping if you want to charge your watch overnight, or if you just are tired of watches in general and you want something more subtle and perhaps even more comfortable. But let's kind of peel this back one layer at a time. That's kind of what the ring is, right? The next question would be, what can it actually do? I mentioned you can pinch and stuff like that, but let's kind of start off with the fundamentals, probably why you would buy it. There's really 5 main things it's going to be tracking, 5 main things. The first one is going to be your heart rate. It can also track your activity, so if you're moving around, steps, things like that. Your blood oxygen levels, so while you're sleeping, that's going to be very important. Your body temperature, which could be used to detect maybe if you're coming down with an illness, or female cycle tracking, different things like that. And of course, heart rate variability, which kind of ties into stress and again, kind of deepens the insights with your sleep. As I mentioned before, you can double pinch. There's a couple things you could do with this until I actually have it connected to my phone and really test it. I can't say everything it's going to do. What Samsung's told me so far is that you can double pinch to snap a photo or to snooze an alarm, for example, which I think is pretty great. If you wake up, your alarm's off, going off on the other side of the room, you just double pinch, it snoozes your alarm. That just, for one, it actually seems a little too tempting. I might not do that, or else I'll never wake up in the morning. But snapping a photo, I think, that's awesome. No longer are you trying to take a photo with your hand like this and trying to do that. Instead, just double pinching. That's so subtle. I think that's just genius to have extra functionality on a ring like this. And probably the biggest thing that Samsung is kind of pushing with this ring is the energy score. And kind of looking at what that is as a whole, it's a lot like Garmin's body battery. It gives you a general score based on what your daily life is like. So if you worked out a lot yesterday, maybe you had a really stressful day, maybe you didn't sleep a lot last night, you're going to have a lower energy score today. And that could maybe tell you, hey, maybe you want to take it a little easier with your workout to avoid injury. Maybe you want to go to bed a little bit earlier tonight. Honestly, a lot of that stuff that you can probably already feel, but sometimes seeing numbers associated with that can be helpful to diagnose what the problem was and help you decide how hard you should actually be training today. Maybe if you slept really well, yesterday was kind of not a really hard day, that could be motivation to say, hey, you have a really high energy score. You should push yourself a little harder in today's workout. Now, the energy score is kind of built up of 3 main pillars: the vitality battery, the mental capacity, and the physical capacity. And these are all kind of based on a lot of the same stuff at the core, one of them being the sleep tracking, which has 5 different features. I know I'm going through a lot of different lists here, but it's really a complicated network that goes into giving you this simple energy score. So sleep tracking, the 5 main features it's tracking are the sleep latency, essentially how long does it take you to fall asleep, your ring will detect that, how high and low are your heart rate throughout the night, and what's your regular heart rate, what is the nighttime movement you have, what's the respiratory rate, and of course, what is your heart rate variability. It can also do a lot of other things as well, like track your stress levels, basically all the fundamentals you would expect from a smartwatch, for example, or maybe a little Fitbit type of thing like that doesn't have GPS. In addition, it also has even auto workout tracking. And if you have your phone nearby, you should be using your phone's GPS to track your workout. But if you don't, it'll still record your entire workout just without GPS. If you're running, that's not really ideal, but if you're lifting or doing yoga or different things like that, tracking your workout on here could be just fine. Now, I don't know the full list of everything that will be auto-tracked with this. I imagine like cycling, running, some of the basics, swimming might be. I don't know if it's going to detect yoga. I think that's probably unlikely, but hopefully we are able to do that within the app. Once I actually have this ring in the studio, I will be making a very in-depth video about it, really diving into the data, and I'll make another video in the future comparing this to a lot of the top competitors, the Ringcon, the Ultrahuman, the Oura Ring, and of course the Galaxy Ring, to see how they compete in the data accuracy, as well as what the different features actually are. But speaking of all of them, let's kind of talk about the price right here. This is $399, which at first might seem very, very expensive because, I mean, it's no joke, $400 is a lot of money, but looking at what the competitive prices actually are, well, the Oura Ring ranges from about $299 if you find a sale, up to $499 if you get the gold version, and on top of that, it requires a $70 per year subscription. So that alone makes the Galaxy Ring cheaper after, I don't know, maybe a year, if that. The Ultrahuman Ring is cheaper though, with no subscription, that's $349, and the Ringcon, right now, from what I'm seeing, is the cheapest of them all, somewhere around $280-ish, again, with no subscription. But the Samsung Galaxy Ring here, $399, like I said, no subscription required, so you always have all of the data, which is really nice. They also have, like, it's using Samsung Health. So if you're familiar with Samsung Health, it does have a lot built into it. Samsung has their AI health features built in to give you the insights. So that's kind of the value proposition of this ring. In addition, it does have a fairly premium build and it does come with a case. The build, like I said, it has a titanium exterior and it's water resistant up to 100 meters with a 7-day battery life in sizes 12 and 13. So if you have larger fingers, you get 7 days of battery life. If you have smaller fingers, like sizes 5 through 11, you're only getting 6 days of battery life. Now you should be able to find your size. I mean, everyone does this differently. You'll either like go into a store and try on some different sizes, or potentially you could print out like a little thing and measure your finger size like that to match the correct size for you. The case, like I said, gives you about 1.5 extra recharges. So if it's a 7-day battery life, you should be looking at about 17.5-day battery life when you include the case. So if you're traveling for a while and don't have an outlet for 17 days, I mean, hey, the ring could potentially do that for you. Your phone would be dead though, so you wouldn't really see the data. It's nice that it lasts a long time though. The locating features on here, I think this is kind of a miss in my opinion. There are some cool things, like the ring lights up, like the heart rate sensors will turn on, so in a dark room, that's something I haven't seen on other devices, which I think is really intelligent, a good way to find it. But other than that, there are no locating features for the case. We don't have ultra wideband for the ring or the case. I think such a small device, like I lost my Ultrahuman ring in the past, and they have kind of like a Bluetooth signal strength sensor on your phone, which will just say like, hey, you're getting warmer and colder. It's like hot and cold, that game you play as a kid, which works well enough to get you into the realm. Like, all right, it fell in the back seat of my car, and then you can dig it out. With this, it's only based on where you were last connected. So if you're, I don't know, it's not nothing, but I wish it was a little bit better than that. This also comes in 3 different colors: titanium black, titanium silver. Those are both matte, and then a reflective gold as well. And all of them are a titanium grade 5 finish. Samsung's really going all in on titanium. The watches, the ring, which by the way, the watch is the 7 and the Watch Ultra. I have videos on both of those coming out at the exact same time as this video. I'll link them in the description below, as well as the latest price on this if you want to check that out. If there's any kind of pre-order bonus or enhanced trade-in values, I'll have that link down below as well. So check that out, and especially after this video, you probably want to see the watches as well. I think they're really quite interesting because they actually do work with this ring as well. Talking a little bit more about the ring, like I said, 9 different sizes. It's IP68 water resistant, and the case does have a button on the inside. You can press it once to check the battery. I think you can double press it to put it in pairing mode. So just some basic things like that, because there is an LED on there to indicate like, hey, the battery's low, it's recharging, whatever, and stuff like that. Now, why would you actually get this ring? That's kind of a big question that I want to wear this with the watch for a pretty extended amount of time to figure out what's the value proposition here? Is it just so I can charge my watch overnight and I can wear this? Is this so that I just don't even need a watch? Maybe I don't do any GPS tracked workouts and I want something lighter like this? Or is it going to be more accurate? Having, a full fit on your finger, doesn't wobble around on your wrist. Maybe the heart rate is going to be more accurate while you sleep. All of these are things that I will be testing, and if you want to see a future video about that, definitely be sure to get subscribed. Lastly, my concerns about this ring. There's a couple things I have concerns with. One, I know it's titanium on the outside, but given the concave build, I'm wondering if the outside is going to take on all of the damage rather than distributing it across the entire ring. Specifically, if you're lifting. Now, lifting, I take my rings off because using an Olympic barbell, you have a pretty aggressive grip on the bar that can really damage the rings. I've damaged a lot of rings like that. Honestly, it's fine. It's just a damaged ring. It doesn't look as good, but if you're tracking your workouts, I don't know. It's something that, it's kind of the nature of having a ring. So I will want to see how this is going to be taking on damage. The other concern I have is the locating features. Like I said, I think it will work pretty well, but I'm just really hoping I don't lose the case. There's not a good locating feature for that. And lastly, will the transparent case get scratched easily? We've seen this with the Nothing Buds or Nothing Ear. A lot of earbuds with, now seem to have transparent cases. That's more popular now. They tend to kind of show scratches a little bit more easily. But otherwise, I kind of don't have any concerns about the ring. I think it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and Samsung already has a very fleshed out app that does a lot. So it's going to be a pretty perfect integration, in my opinion, into the Samsung ecosystem. And I think when worn with the watch, you're going to get some cool extra features. Like you extend the battery life of the ring by up to 30% by disabling some features that the watch already does. So it kind of works together in that ecosystem, and adding more improvements like the pinch features, who knows what other things are going to happen. I think this is going to be a really exciting device that I'm really excited to wear and just test it a little bit more. So thank you all for watching the video this long. I hope you're excited about the ring as well. Leave a comment and let me know what your thoughts are on this ring. Would this replace your watch? Would this be when would you use this ring? And if you haven't already, definitely be sure to go check out those other videos I mentioned coming out at the same time as this one about the Galaxy Watch Ultra, a very impressive new watch, and the Galaxy Watch 7.